It was the late 90s when I first picked up a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I can say that my wife can attest that our lives have never been the same since. I quickly became a Kiyosaki fanatic, or even a junkie. I had to have everything that he'd ever written. I liked his writing style. I liked the way that he gave analogies, told stories. It made it easy for me to understand, and also helped me explain to people the same deal, make them interested in Kiyosaki's writings as well. And one story that particularly struck home with me was the pipeline story. It was about a village who had a water deficiency, and the village elders commissioned two men to supply their water needs. Well, the two men had two different styles of doing it. The first man went and bought a couple of buckets, and they carried buckets back and forth every day. This solved the problem, but if the guy didn't work, he didn't get paid. If he was sick, he didn't get paid. If he went on vacation, he didn't get paid. And the village was without water if he didn't work. The second gentleman went and invested a large amount of money, but he built a pipeline from the river to the village. And when the pipeline was finished, the village had water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with a turn of a faucet. And he didn't have to be there to collect his money. If he went on vacation or got sick, he still collected his money. Through Kiyosaki's teachings, I felt like I was carrying buckets and working for my employer. I didn't feel like I was building a pipeline for me. And I wanted to build a pipeline for my wife and I that was passive. That whether we worked or not, we were still getting a paycheck to be able to meet our monthly obligations. So through Kiyosaki's teachings, we started collecting rental property in 2001. And by 2008, we had 5 rental properties. And we would go through, and every year we'd buy a couple houses every year. We'd rehab them. We keep one for a rental property, and we sell the other one for profits. But unbeknownst to me, in 2008, the road before me was filled with landmines. As everybody knows, the bubble burst in 2008, and I spent the next couple of years getting the snot knocked out of me. We had a rehab that went bad on us. My wife had a hysterectomy at the end of 2008. We had a couple of tenants that moved out, and they trashed the place on the way out. And a few days later, the copper thieves came in and finished the job off. In April of 2009, I got laid off from my corporate job. So I was without a job. The dominoes were falling, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. We ended up losing 2 houses in foreclosure because we couldn't pay for them. My solution at the time was to bury my head in the sand. I didn't want to deal with anything or anybody. It was a very dark time for me. But in 2011, 2012, I pulled my head out of the sand or out of somewhere else, and I dusted myself off and figured there's got to be another way around this. I figured there's got to be another solution. Our credit was shot. We had no money, and we were trying to rebuild. But I had a positive attitude. I knew it could be done and it would be done. And there's a saying that I never really got until 2012, and it goes like this: the teacher will appear when the student's ready. And in 2012, I met my mentor in Philadelphia. I started explaining a new way of thinking on how we could rebuild our pipeline. He started opening my eyes up to the world of non-performing mortgages, the world of real estate investor finance, a way that you could invest but not be as leveraged as you were if you had rental property, and you didn't have the headaches that you had with rental property. I don't know how many people are landlords out there, but there is nothing passive about owning rental property. Property management is a hard work. It's a hard road to go down. So my mentor started putting these new ideas in my head, and I felt more creative than I ever felt in my life. I felt a renewed passion. I felt a fresh start coming on. And he was giving me ideas on how to do things different, how to do things better, giving me ideas that I I had known about it in the past, but I didn't know about it. I knew that the ways that we could do it, but I didn't understand it fully until now. And as Sharon said, sometimes you have to go through a hard time to understand and to learn what you need to do. So with that, I'd like to leave you with a quote by a pretty sharp guy. Some people even call him a genius. Maybe you've heard of him, Albert Einstein. He said, the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. Those who understand it will earn from it, and those who don't will pay for it.
Thank you.